I'm going to be talking today about something that I believe has fundamentally changed my life. Quite often, there are things in life that we want to give up. For many, many years, I was trying to give up alcohol. And every single time I tried and failed, it became the evidence that I wasn't good enough to do it. If you've got something you really want to stop doing, then, and this might sound a bit wild, but stop focusing on the thing. This model works. M.A.D.E is an acronym for morals, ambitions, drivers, and environments. What do we want in our life? And I mean, what do we really want? Not what you think other people want you to want, what you really, really want. What do you really want out of your life? Even if it sounds childish, even if it sounds ridiculous, what is it? And that is the key. I'm going to make an episode that I've been wanting to make or meaning to make for a really, really long time. I'm going to be talking today about something that I believe has fundamentally changed my life. And that's the truth. I recognize how that sounds. I know a lot of people say stuff like that all the time, but this is the truth. But I have a problem. It's also something that I sell. So I'm going to make a promise to you right now. I'm going to talk about my M.A.D.E model during this episode today. And I do have a course. I have the self-made course. But I'm not going to mention that today. Because here's the thing. This model works. It is ridiculous how well it works. It's something that I've been using with all my clients for a really long time. It's something I've been using on myself for a really long time, and I still do now. And it always surprises me that when I start to lose my way with certain things or old behaviours start to creep back, I go back to the M.A.D.E model and the answer is always there. And I'm going to tell you why that is as well. Because here's the thing. Although I put it together and I made it, the thing about the M.A.D.E model that makes it so incredible and makes it work so well is that it's actually a self-leadership model that gets you to know yourself. That you make all the decisions. All I do is point in certain directions and you do the rest. Anyway, still salesy. See, I thought about this intro and I thought, how can I do this without sounding like I'm trying to sell something? Because I'm really not. In this moment, I'm not trying to sell anything. I just want you to hear about it. So as you've probably seen, a lot of these solo episodes are not very long. So stick with it. At the end, if you feel like you've been sold something, just tell me and I'll say sorry. But what problem does it solve? Well, quite often, there are things in life that we want to give up. We want to stop doing certain things that we feel are destroying our lives, probably a bit strong, but they're definitely chipping away at our happiness, chipping away at our contentment, chipping away at becoming the person we want to be. They're making us unhappy in some way. Perhaps it's something like smoking, perhaps it's something like vaping, phone addiction, or eating too much food, feeling lazy, procrastinating. I don't know what it is. But for me, it was alcohol. Now, I know you all know my alcohol story, so I'm not going to go into it. You know that I had a problematic relationship with alcohol. But for many, many years, I was trying to give up alcohol, and it became so difficult for me. And every single time I tried and failed, it became the evidence that I wasn't good enough to do it and that I couldn't do it. I even started saying that out loud. So for those listening today, if you've got something that you really want to stop doing, something that you really, really believe is causing you to be unhappy and you just want to stop doing the thing, then, and this might sound a bit wild, but I'm going to say, stop focusing on the thing. You know, when you meet a friend and you've known them for a really long time, you really get along, that you might even call them your best friend, but just recently they've broken up with their ex. It's now become months, and every time you meet up with them, they're still talking about their ex. They're still going back there. They're still reliving it. And it starts off like really calm. And then all of a sudden they start to get really animated and really angry and they go back all into their emotions. And you're just thinking to yourself, it's been 8. Why are you still thinking about your ex? I think we do the same with behavioural change. I think that the big problem in behavioural change is, we want to stop smoking. We want to stop drinking. We want to stop procrastinating. We want to stop overeating. We want to stop doing all of these different things. So then if we want to stop doing those things, why is it that we focus on it intently? When I gave up alcohol, the times that I failed before I became a success in it, up until now, I became a success. Listen to that. It's ridiculous. But the time that I was successful, it was because I made the decision to stop focusing on it. And I remember my therapist saying to me, if you want to know why you drink alcohol, stop drinking and then work on yourself to the point where you work out why it was that you were drinking, and then alcohol will give you up because it won't have a purpose anymore. And at the time, I remember that just kind of being white noise to me and me thinking, well, what the hell does that mean? I don't know what that means. At the time, I was still obsessed with the idea of not drinking. But actually what it means is when you have a habit of a lifetime, when you have this thing that's connected to your emotions, this thing that you do so well for such a long time that you can't imagine not doing it in your life, and then you stop, you think your job is to focus intently on not doing the thing. But here's the thing, that's really hard to not do something. It's kind of a non-action. It doesn't come with any actions. And actually, all you end up doing is focusing so intently on not doing that thing that you end up just focusing on the thing, and then you've not given yourself any alternatives, and before you know it, you're back doing the thing. Because it's the only kind of option you have. You have this void in your life, this thing that you cannot do anymore, and you're hyper aware of it, and you become obsessed with it, and that void becomes this vortex that's just swirling and swirling and swirling and pulling and pulling and pulling until one day you just find yourself doing the thing again. And that thing comes with that same old familiar feeling, which offers us comfort, and everything about it, although you know it's wrong, in your mind, in your heart, it feels right. So what am I trying to say? When you change a behaviour, it's not about focusing on changing the behaviour. It's about what you do instead. People say to me, why that time? Why was it that time that the thing stuck? Why was it that time that you were able to move forward? And what I would say to that is because I stopped thinking about what I wasn't going to do, and I started thinking about what I was going to do instead. And I obsessively started trying to work out who I was. Before I know it, I was creating this model. I started searching for myself like, okay, I know who I don't want to be. I know what I don't want to do. I know what I don't want, but who am I? What do I want? Why do I want it? What sort of world do I want to build around myself? How do I want to be? And I started obsessively researching this, watching programs on it, listening to podcasts on it, reading books. If you could, I used to have the bookshelf behind me, right? All of those books, they're all contributed to the M.A.D.E model that I made. M.A.D.E is an acronym for morals, ambitions, drivers, and environments. The morals is our core values, what we value at our heart, and our belief systems, both limiting and growth beliefs. Our ambitions is what we want. What do we want in our life? And I mean, what do we really want? Not what you think other people want you to want. Not what sounds good and what sounds like, yeah, I want this. I mean, what you really, really want. What do you really want out of your life? Really? Even if it sounds childish, even if it sounds ridiculous, what is it? What is it? What is it that you want? Then there's your drivers. Why do you want it? Why do you want it? What does it give you? And then your environments. And your environments are made up by your people, places, and things in your life. A lot of the time, you meet those people in life, and we've all been those people in life, where you can't make a decision about something. The idea of getting that decision wrong feels so difficult, so challenging, so overwhelming that it fills you with fear. And it's because you don't know who you are. We're always changing throughout our lives. Every time we hit a different stage in our life, their core values are gently nudged to change. An easy example of this is I'm now a parent, but when I wasn't a parent, when I was a teenager, when I was early 20s, even late 20s, before I became a parent when I was about 30 years old. But up until that point, I would just go out and do whatever I wanted. Me and my wife or my friends or whatever, we'd just go out and we'd have fun to the early hours of the morning. We'd just get on with it. Even with work, we'd rock up into work and we'd have a bit of a hangover, but it'd be fine. We were young, we were full of it. It didn't really matter to us. We sort of prioritized having fun. But then when you have children, let's just say you'll only go out and party to the early hours of the morning with a child one time. And then the next day will be the worst day of your entire life, and you will most likely never do it again. You may do it again in the future, but it'll be a very long time and you would have forgotten, and then you'll be quickly reminded and you'll go, oh yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. Your values have to shift. You have to value your sleep, and you have to value your children, and you have to value the things that are really creating that happiness and contentment in your life, that are fulfilling, that are giving you something, the things that you value the most. And your core values shift and change. I very often use the analogy of a mobile phone, and I say, like, this is a mobile phone and this is the hardware, just like we are the hardware. And on this mobile phone is some software. And the software, every now and again, updates. And quite often we're very busy. We've got lots going on in our lives, so we don't feel that we've got time to update our mobile. So we just keep putting it off day after day, night after night, and we just forget and we just stop doing it. But then, all of a sudden, the apps stop working. Things start switching themselves off and on again. Things stop working. They just need updating. And that's what happens with us, with our values. Our values are like our operating system. They direct us to what's right and wrong, what's for us, not for us. They're our moral compass in life. And without that, we start to feel lost. We start to feel stuck. Things stop working. Relationships start to fall apart. The things that used to bring us joy stop bringing us joy now. and we don't know why. Well, it's usually because our values have changed. And I believe personally that every 0 birthday, 20, 30, 40, 50 come with sometimes very subtle value shifts, sometimes absolutely massive value shifts. And if we don't assess that, if we don't look at what we value and say to ourselves, do we still value it? Then it's like using this phone with an old operating system. At some point, it just completely breaks down and no longer works. So part of the morals process is looking into your values, working out what you value now, today. And here's the other thing. Sometimes what we think we value are actually other people's preferences. Very often in our past, when we're younger, we see things in life that our parents say are important, and we learn from them to value them things. And that's not necessarily right or wrong. An example I often use is I remember working with a client once, and she told me, and she believed it, and there's no judgment here, that she valued tidiness, that things had to be clean and tidy. And whenever we spoke on Zoom, the background was always blurred out. And then one day that feature wasn't working very well and she couldn't do it. And I just noticed in the background that everything was very, very messy. It's not that it bothered me, it's just that it was very, very different to what she had told me. So it was the first time I'd ever had the opportunity to challenge it and say, you tell me all the time that you value a tidy home, that you value tidiness, cleanliness, but yet in the background, I'm seeing that things aren't as tidy as you once described. And then we came to the conclusion that actually it was her parents' preferences, her mother in particular, told her that it's really important to have a clean home. Sometimes we can take on other people's preferences and believe that they are our values. And that's why it's even more important to double check those and to make sure that they are things that we actually value and that they actually come from us. They're actually things that we have chosen and not things that we think that we should think instead. Then we've got our belief systems. We hear a lot about limiting beliefs, and the limiting beliefs are the beliefs that we have about ourselves that limit us, stop us from doing things. We might believe that we are not smart enough, that we're not slim enough, that we're not tall enough, that we're not funny enough, that we're not hardworking enough. We're just not something enough. And that belief system holds us back. And here's the thing. Beliefs are not facts, but they feel like facts. And that's really, really difficult for us because they feel like facts. They feel true. They feel unchangeable. Like water is wet. It's a fact. It's never going to change. It's never going to change. We believe these belief systems, these limiting things about ourselves that we learned at a young and impressionable age, they are facts to us. That's what we believe. There are something called growth beliefs. Limiting beliefs limit you and stop you from moving forward. Growth beliefs propel you forward. So the game would be to, first of all, figure out what those limiting beliefs are, because they're so embedded within us. They're so scripted within us that we just say them very often without even realizing that we're saying them. They're just things that we say about ourselves. So we have to look into them and identify them. And then over a slow process, we start to clarify, challenge and change and allow those limiting beliefs to become growth beliefs. It's a really, really great process to go through. That's the morals part of it. You're getting to know yourself, and the beauty of getting to know yourself, to know what you value, to know what you believe, and to create those growth beliefs about yourself and about the way that you see the world is once you know what your morals are, once you know who you are in life, you'll be able to make decisions so much easier. You won't have to go around asking everybody what they think only to become confused, because what you're doing when you do that is that you're going there and you're saying, what are your values? What are your beliefs about life? What are your belief systems and all of the things that create the way that you see the world, and then you're trying to apply it to your life, and then it doesn't work, and then you feel even more like a failure because something else that you've tried hasn't worked. So it's really important that we start to identify who we are, what are our morals, what are our core values, what are our belief systems, and really understand that. And that was the first part of the process after I gave up alcohol. I started to understand, because I had built up all of these beliefs about myself based on my relationship with alcohol. In fact, alcohol had become so embedded in my personality that I had started to believe that I couldn't do anything without it. It didn't matter where I was, I found a way to drink. Now, I didn't drink in the daytimes, and I barely drank in a week unless there was a reason, and I would find reasons. But I drank a lot of the weekends. And I started to realize over time, I used to believe that I used to go out to drink alcohol. But then I started to realize as I went through my sobriety process that actually I used to drink alcohol to go out, because it's not something that I value anymore. When I was younger, I used to love going out and having a great time, or what I thought was a great time. Never really remembered what I did, but I thought it was great anyway. And actually, in the end, I was drinking a lot of alcohol so I could go out and be in those social situations that I actually didn't enjoy. Learning my morals taught me who I was, which allowed me to know what I wanted and what I didn't, and to have that strong moral compass to know who I was and which direction I was going to go in. Then you've got ambitions. Ambitions is about learning based off of your values and your belief systems, learning what you want in life. Now, I've met people that once we've gone through this process that they've come to realizing that their values was all based in adventure, yet they were working in an office and they were seeing the same people every day and everything was repetitive. And slowly over time, that thing was just chipping away at them and just creating more and more unhappiness. Because a lot of the time people are too embarrassed to say what they really want. And I want to put you back into that space like you did as a kid, where you would just say unapologetically, this is what I want. This is what I aspire to be. This is my ambition in life. Because see, when you have an ambition, when you have something that you want so much with your full body and your heart, then it becomes even easier to make decisions in life. Because if it doesn't bring you closer to that, then it's a hard no. And it doesn't matter if that person's going to be disappointed. Obviously, you're a kind person and you care, but you're not going to sacrifice yourself. You're not going to abandon yourself and what you want in life for other people anymore. Because you have your ambitions. You know what you want. You know the direction you're going in. You know what you value. You know what you believe about yourself, and you're working on it all the time to make it a growth belief instead of a limiting belief. You now can pursue your ambitions with passion, with clarity, and understand yourself and go on this adventure of a lifetime as you move towards the things that you want in life. Which brings you on to your drivers. D. Your drivers are the reason why you want it. When I worked as a PT, I'd have people come in to me that wanted to lose weight, and I would say, what's driving this decision? What's driving your decision to lose weight? And they would look me in the eye and say, I hate myself. I hate myself. And I'd say, I understand. But when it gets really difficult and you have to make a difficult decision and all of them old habits are clawing and pulling and drawing you back, and that big void is sucking you in and saying, come on, let's go and do the thing. Let's go and eat the food. Let's go and drink the cocktails. Let's go and do whatever it is that you did. I hate myself is not going to be a very good driver for sticking to your guns. And very often I'd say, okay, I'm not going to tell you to love yourself because that feels a bit toxic. Someone's been practicing self-loathing for 20, 30 years. To tell them to love themselves or to ask them to love themselves is a big thing to ask. It's even probably too big to ask them to like themselves. So I'd encourage them to get to know themselves without judgment. Be a bit compassionate. And here's the thing, once you know what's driving your behavior, once you know deep in your heart and your soul why you want this thing, then when it gets really difficult and all behavioral change gets difficult, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about how we can change our behavior, how we can stop doing the thing and start doing the thing that we want to do instead. So when that behavioral change gets really, really difficult, why you want it is so, so important. In fact, it's almost everything in that moment. Because you have to want what you aspire to have in the future, your ambitions, more than you wanted what you have in the past. Even though you know that short-term emotion, that feeling of doing the thing that you know used to make you happy, even though you know that's drawing you, you have to have that faith and confidence in your values, in your belief systems, in your ambitions. And you have to know and love and be in love with that notion so much that you don't do the thing. Now, don't get me wrong. You can still be angry about it. You can still swear and want to throw stuff if you want to. But all that matters is that when your head hits that pillow at the end of the night, that you didn't do that thing that you used to do. You might even be that for that day, for that moment, that you abandon the things that you want to do instead. Perhaps that's too hard. Perhaps the best you can think of in that moment is that you just go to bed early and wake up tomorrow and things feel a little bit easier. And this is how the M.A.D.E model was formed. There were some tough times. That first year of me stopping drinking alcohol was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it got really dark sometimes. And I was consumed with a lot of very, very challenging emotions. And it's this M.A.D.E model that really, really helps me through it. It really, really did. I can't stress that enough. Knowing what I value most, knowing my morals, knowing my beliefs, knowing my ambitions, my real ambitions, not the ones that I think everyone else wants me to say, the ones that I really want in my heart. And knowing why I want that, the drivers behind my behavior. They drive me. Listen to the word. It's driving me forward. It's driving me forward. It's not allowing me to be pulled back. It's like you're driving uphill and those drivers keep moving you up the hill. But as soon as you stop doing those drivers, the vehicle starts rolling back down the hill towards the bottom where the old behavior is. And then lastly, E, your environments. And this is often the bit that's neglected, because this is the bit that makes that behavioral change permanent, because you have to set your environment up to support the person that you want to become. And your environment is the people, places, and things that surround you in your life. We like to believe that we have influence over the things that surround us in our environment, but very often it's the other way around. They have influence over us. They're people in our lives. We like to believe that we influence them in some way and that we guide them or we're good role models, whatever, but really often it's the other way around. There'll be people that you don't even realize. They're chipping away at your self-esteem. They're trying to take away your confidence. They're trying to keep you where they need you to be so that they can be who they want to be instead of you being who you want to be. And they're doing it really subtly. Sometimes it's not even on purpose, and that's fine. And by saying that, I'm not saying you need to start culling people from your life and getting rid of people. You just need to change your relationship with them, or at the very least, be aware of that behavior so you don't succumb to it. So people in your life, recognizing who is supporting the person you want to become and who is subtly taking away from you is really, really important to identify. And then you've got the places that you go. Very often I'd meet up with people in cafes and stuff for consultations, and there'll be certain places I'd go to that would just stress me out. Maybe it's the decor, maybe it's the music, maybe the music's too loud, maybe the seats are uncomfortable, maybe the coffee's crap, maybe this, maybe that, maybe I always see the same people in there and I don't like those people or whatever it is. But that environment I go to cues me to behave in a certain way. And before I know it, I'm off doing this and I'm off doing that, and I didn't even realize. So places can be really important too, because there are places where I feel at peace. Maybe they play calming music. Maybe the furniture or the color scheme in the room is nice and they sell nice food, healthier food that aligns with the person that I want to become. Better drinks, I don't know. But it becomes so much more worth it to spend time in those places rather than the ones that cue you to be the old version of you. And then there's the things in your life. Things like this. This is an amazing tool, this mobile phone. I say this because there's people listening on podcast platforms and they're like, what is that, Johnny? It's a phone. So this phone in my hand is an amazing tool and we can do amazing things with it. But it can also take away minutes and hours of my day, scrolling on social media, reading through emails, reading through messages, responding to messages, whatever it is, stuff that most likely isn't urgent, news feeds, learning what's going on in the world around me when I should be getting on with other things. See, this is a thing in my life that takes me away from the person I want to be. It doesn't bring me closer sometimes. And there'll be other things in your sphere as well. Maybe it's the television. Maybe it's a tablet. I don't know. Whatever it is. But there are going to be things in your life that pull you away from the person that you want to become. And then there'll be things in your life that bring you closer to it too. Things that are helpful. Sometimes they could be the same thing, which is complicated. So it's these 4 pillars. Your morals, your ambitions, your drivers, your environments, that once you get to know these things, once you put a focus in this area, and this is the thing about the M.A.D.E model, it's a beautiful self-leadership model, because here's the difference. Before, when you were doing a behavior, it become autonomous. It becomes something that you were doing unconsciously almost. And what this does is it gets you to lead yourself. It gets you to live your life with intention. It gets you to ask yourself, is this the person I want to be in those moments? And it works. It really, really does work. And yes, you can do the course. And yes, there's loads of stuff that I've done and feel free. But just take these principles and think about them for a little bit. Write them down. Write down what you think your values are. Write down what your beliefs are, the things that you constantly say all the time. If you're not sure, ask people around you. Ask people that are close to you. Ask people that are important and you respect their opinions. Ask them because they will know. When it comes to your ambitions, think right back to the beginning. And yeah, you might have wanted to be an astronaut when you were 8, and maybe now you're 50. Maybe your days of being an astronaut aren't there. But what was it about being an astronaut that you really, really liked? Well, it was the sense of going to places where it was adventure and it's a big open spaces and exploring. Okay, well, you can still do those things. So look at your ambitions. Look at them and write down. And that's the key part. Write it down. Don't use your phone. Don't use your laptop or your computer. Write it down. Go out and buy a pad, a pen. Go out and buy a pen. You can buy a pen if you want, but go out and buy a book or a pad to write it all down in. Start writing down your values, start writing down your belief systems, some of the things that you want to be true instead, perhaps. Write down your ambitions, write down what you think drives you, what motivates you. If you can't figure that out, then just look out for it. Where are the moments in your day that you're doing something that makes you happy? Because somewhere within that, you're feeling motivated. So perhaps there's some drivers in there. What drove you to do that? What drives you to do that? Is it transferable? All of those different questions. Then your environments. Look out for those people, places and things in your life that are pulling you away from what you want to be and things that are pulling you towards it. It's always there. The clues are always there. The model doesn't tell you who you are. It gives you a little bit of structure and a little bit of direction to help you figure that out for yourself. That's what makes it work. It's all you. It's none of this Johnny says this, Johnny says that. It's actually you that says these things. So the M.A.D.E model was something that I created from my own journey. It's something that came to me by looking at the behaviours that were holding me back and starting to understand who it was that I wanted to become in my future. It's not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about intention. It's about being intentional about your life. It's about knowing yourself so well that you actually start to like yourself. And then once you start to like yourself, you might even like to love yourself in the end. So if there's a behaviour in your life that you want to change, don't just ask yourself, how can I stop doing this? Start asking yourself, who do I want to become instead? And I invite you to use the M.A.D.E model, your morals, your ambitions, your drivers and environments to work that out. Because once you decide who you want to be and you start pursuing that and you start moving towards that, whatever that behavior is that you want to change will no longer have a purpose in your life and it will give you up. And that is the key. That's when you know you're living with intention. That's when you know that you've become self-made. Almost got through the whole thing without mentioning the course. Thank you so much for listening to me today. And I'll see you next week on another episode of the Johnny Lawrence Podcast.